And so I'll just record this portion where I talk about the course, the assignments, and the platforms. And so I just wanted to sort of respond a bit to a few things that came up, and one was about sharing. And I taught at an officer training school in the armed forces for a decade before becoming a high school teacher. And I was only briefly a high school teacher. But one thing that I've had a long sort of passion for is the idea that you should be sharing, and an ethos that eventually became what we call open education today. And so I think one of the great things about digital learning materials and digital curriculum, things that you build in a digital environment, are the ease with which you can share these things and make them findable by other teachers and educators who need to find them elsewhere. And so I think that's probably, this course is one that has this as a biggest feature. And so what I might start off is saying that this course has a certain component around theory. What does the research say around different types of media in supportive learning? How are they effective or not effective? And it also has a significant practical element. How do you find media items that are going to support the teaching and learning you're doing? And how do you develop, build, make your own media elements to use in your teaching and learning? And so one thing that has been sort of at the core of this program since it started about 11 to 12 years ago is that we've assumed, and it's a pretty good assumption to make, that the bulk of the educators that we're working with do not have bags of money at their home institution to have things like media created, etc. I was going to say, Anne, are you asking a question? I see a question mark hopping up for you.
No, sorry,
Okay.
no, I don't think so.
Okay. This is about my third or fourth most commonly used web conferencing tool, so I may be misinterpreting. Anyway, so this course presents opportunities for you to develop media tools or media examples, pieces of educational doing now or might do in the future, and the theory around how to design those items and how to embed them within, say, a certain amount of text or within an activity so that they're more usable. All of this based on the idea that you're going to use free software, resources that are found on the open web without putting out a lot of money. Media becomes easier when you have a lot of money, but you can do an awful lot with almost nothing. And so that's one of the starting points that we take here. So the other thing that is going to be really distinctive about this course is that we have this course placed currently in an open environment called Commons in a Box Open Lab. And but we also have the traditional Moodle learning management system in the background that is where you do things like submit assignments. So right now, I am going to share my screen. So are you seeing,
Yeah, we got your screen there.
okay, so you're seeing the Moodle site?
That's right.
Okay. So Moodle is the learning management system that Thompson Rivers Online or Open Learning uses. And we have that as the background for this course site. You'll notice in here there are assignment drop boxes for each assignment. The assignments themselves are typically things that you're going to create yourself within your portfolio blog, most likely, or you might create them in some other kind of online tool. And so typically this Dropbox is going to be a place where you might paste in a link to where the real work you've done is, and then hit submit, just so that I know you're finished. It's ready to be assessed and to get some feedback on. It won't be typical in this course that you would be just uploading a Word document or a PDF. That's not the type of assignments we do. So anyway, within this Moodle site, there's a link to the current course site where the content lives. And that looks like this. So this is the EDDL, or the Graduate Certificate in Online Teaching and Learning, Commons in a Box Open Lab site. And so this is a development of WordPress. And WordPress is a very popular open source blogging software, which means it's free. Anybody can go and change the code and make their own version if they'd like. And Thompson Rivers has been using this for quite some time. Up until a couple of years ago, we used WordPress blogs as the course site, and then each student would have their own WordPress blog as their portfolio site. Commons in a Box Open Lab was developed by City University of New York, and it is an adaptation of WordPress to bring all of this together into one site. And so here I am on the splash page for this course, and this link here will take me to the content. But before I do that, here on this site, or this page, I also have links that are somewhat important. This one here is going to take me to discussion forums or discussion threads. And then down here, I have links to the portfolios for some of the people in the course, and hopefully the rest will start to pop up in here as well. So if I go to discussion, then here we have a place where I can start a thread. Any of you can start a thread. I will typically start threads for things like the discussion questions in a specific week and for any sort of general announcements. So I started a thread for these welcome and info web conferencing sessions. And you can also put in a thread just to link to a portfolio post, because sometimes people don't realize there's something new to go look at, or perhaps your portfolio isn't linked over here yet, and we'll go through how to do that later. Not in this session. I'll probably put something out if it's still an issue in a few days. But this is the discussion area. This discussion area is only accessible to people who are members of the course. So this is private. We go back here. This site here, even though it says this course is private, what it means is you have to be a member to get to things like discussion. And if you're not a member, you won't see these links to portfolios. You'll just see this little box here and this link that'll take you to the course content. Pop back one. A thing that's missing from this portion here, usually there is a calendar link. And so I've got a request in to get that enabled again. If I don't get it by, say, the end of Monday, mid-Tuesday, then I'll probably be doing a Google Calendar instead, and I'll try and figure out where to best insert some links. And so the idea just being to be able to put up a calendar that makes it explicit. This is week 1, this is week 2, this is week 3, and where the due dates are. Because I find myself 5 weeks in, I will not remember for sure exactly which week we're in, unless I just did the discussion questions, and I'll be going back and we're in week which. So it's just handy to be able to pop in and say, oh yes, we are in week 6. And so this is the actual content. This is an introductory page. And then down here you will see there's various weeks. Some topics are handled in 1 week, some topics are handled in 2 weeks. And so the topics spread around a number of media types, some issues around media, and theory. And so we have an introduction, then we're right into theory, accessibility and universal design, and then we're into some media types. And then also we have another unit on designing and assessing student media projects. At the very bottom here, we have assignments. And one clunky thing here, you'll see each of these links, the name has my last name as the end of this. I'm not sure why they're doing that. It just helps to differentiate pages associated for a course for myself as opposed to someone else. But I am the only one who teaches this course, so a little different. And so I think I'll pause here and just ask if there are any questions about the two different sites, Moodle and the Commons in a Box Open Lab, or we could just call it the EDDL site. Any questions about those two sites and the access to the content?
Is there one site that you prefer to inhabit more than the other?
I inhabit this site. The things that I use the Moodle site for, basically, I will put feedback and marks for your assignments in the Moodle site because it does a good job of organizing that. And in the grade book, I'll be there to check to make sure everybody has completed, and I've assessed all of assignment 2s for everybody, things like that. I'm always anxious when you are teaching just in a bare site and using email as a method of submission and feedback, etc. There's a danger of missing someone and then 2 weeks later going, oh, where was assignment 2 for so-and-so? And so that's how I tend to use it. For yourself, really just submitting for the assignments, which again, what I mentioned is not so much you're going to put a thing there, you're just going to put a link most likely, hit the submit button, and that just verifies to me, yes, you are completely done. When we get this calendar up, there are due dates for these assignments, but I have always also offered a fair amount of flexibility. If you would prefer to nudge some of these due dates around, that's fine. We have got one group assignment, which will be you'll have to work within your group about. Any other questions?
Yeah, Keith, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm wondering if all the weeks are set already or they're subject to change.
The weeks are set. There are some slight revisions happening to weeks 2 and forward. I hope to have all of them done this weekend. They're very minor. Basically, I'm adding in 2 more tools these tools for, say, editing video, tools for editing graphics. So I designed this course a year and a half ago. We've run it once. I have a colleague at Royal Roads who also does a lot of this kind of work, and he's got 2 free tools, a couple of these that he thinks are really great, and I've looked at them and said they probably are really great. I was resistant initially because you learn to use your tools and you don't want to learn a new tool, but I looked at them and said these might be better, and so I'm adding them in. But other than that, yeah, these weeks are set as what that topic will be for that week.
Okay. Because I noticed that I think the third activity for the first week was changed because I previewed it on Friday, and then I think your third activity this week was updated.
I updated that one. That activity 3 for week 1 is designed to be something new in educational media, and so it's supposed to change every year. though I may live to regret that choice of design.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I'm actually tempted to have some way of linking to the old ones too, because it's not like the one that was there before was bad. It was really interesting. It's just not brand new anymore. So yeah, I'm just trying to think of a design way within that page, to say, I don't know, if you wanted to look at the old ones. Any other questions?
I have one more for you if you don't mind, Keith.
Sure.
So with all of those things in mind, my schedule is pretty interesting. It's either I have some time to work or I have zero time. And so periodically I try and front load myself to get a little bit ahead when I see things coming. Is that going to mess up your scheduling?
No.
If we front load our workloads?
Yeah. So the things that I'm changing are going to be some extra resources, but they won't preclude the resources that are already there, and some finer editing suggestions that were made but were not implemented when the whole site was put up for the first offering. They worked off of one version back's files, unfortunately. And so it's some nice stuff, but it's not going to make an impact. And like I said, I hope to have all of that done this weekend, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to pop into assignments now. And each of these assignments, the assignments are hopefully very authentic, practical. There is one group assignment, this media tool presentation. It looks like right now there may be as many as 14 people in the course. There are 12 who have officially registered, but the list I got from TRU had 14. So I can't say for sure. There's also the possibility we usually take anybody who wants to join in the first week and maybe even the second week if they're willing to catch up. So that is also possible. So we'll go through each of these. Assignment 1 is finding a piece of media. And this is fairly straightforward. The important part of it is that you're looking for a piece of media that pedagogically supports the learning you are hoping to have happen in an online environment. And you are perhaps adapting or adding to the piece of media to make it work if needed, and you are placing it within a context. So it's not just a picture or a video and that's all. You are introducing the piece of media somehow. You are integrating the media into some kind of activity. So as opposed to go watch that video, it's here's something I have to say about what you should be looking at as you watch this video. Watch this video. Here are some questions to engage in a discussion after watching this video. That sort of a thing. And one other thing I'll probably mention, and I should have mentioned earlier, is that everything in this course assumes online as the mode of instruction. Now, this can still work well for a blended mode, and it actually supports stuff that you would produce for face-to-face as well. It is much easier to design backwards from online back to a face-to-face presentation than it is to go the other way. And so the courses that are in the graduate certificate, which are also electives for the AMEd, are all designed for online with the knowledge that you can reverse engineer reasonably easily. So that's assignment 1. So assignment 2 is to develop an online media assignment. And this means You're developing an assignment for your students where they are demonstrating their understanding or meeting some learning outcome by creating a piece of media. Not as revolutionary as it once was, but still, I think, an important aspect of educational media. Now, assignment 3 is an e-portfolio. As we go through the weeks, you're going to work with text, graphics, audio, video, and interactive media. For your e-portfolio, you're going to put together, I have to go and look at the text again, 3 pieces. So 3 instances of educational media, and they have to span at least 2 of the genres of graphics, audio, or video. They could be interactive media, but one thing to note is that we don't cover interactive media until towards the very end of the course. So if you want one of your portfolio items to be an interactive piece of media, you need to jump ahead and make sure you've got a good grounding in the use of that interactive media. And so these portfolio pieces should stand on their own. They would likely be perhaps a single page or blog post in your portfolio. And they would have that piece of media, again, integrated in context so that it is an obvious learning experience where you have integrated the media into some kind of activity, some kind of use by the learners that is going to support their learning. Each of these should stand alone. So what you shouldn't do is produce an entire unit which in it somewhere has 3 examples of educational media. You need to be much more succinct about how you're demonstrating that you've got these 3 pieces. So assignment 4 is the group assignment. Your groups, I think, 3 is a good number for a group, but 2 could be okay as well. You're going to look for a media tool. And these tools are something that you would use online. And so the example I'll provide that is so obvious nobody should actually choose it is YouTube. And you will look into the different ways in which your tool can be used, how it can support learning, and then you're going to make a presentation about it. And each week there will probably be 2 groups making a presentation about their media tool. Your presentation also should set up an opportunity for discussion of the material you've put together and discussion of the tool itself. Your presentations could be in a web conferencing platform like this, or they could be done in an asynchronous system. So you and your group members could record, say, a narrated PowerPoint or web conferencing just use a web conferencing tool like this, record it, and then post that video as the starter, the instigator for some further discussion that would happen either attached to one of your portfolio blog posts, or you could do it within the discussion area on the EDDL site. And the last assignment is your blogging and online participation. So in the weeks of the course, there will be some activities that ask you to create a blog post, and there will be some activities that ask you to discuss something within the discussion area on the EDDL site. So typically what happens, especially in the weeks where you are working with a type of media, you'll be asked to make a thing and then post that to in a post on your portfolio site. And each of your portfolios is it is a WordPress blog built into this system. When you go to set up your portfolio, and this is sort of an aside now, if you have a WordPress blog already existing elsewhere, you can actually make your portfolio in this system point there instead, if you'd like to produce stuff there instead. It's not too difficult to do, but if you need help, just let me know and I can give you the steps how to do that. So blog posts that you make are typically going to be here. I have created and edited a piece of audio. I've posted it with a player here on this post in my portfolio. Similarly, in many of these weeks, there will be a discussion of some sort, and that will happen in the discussion area. My login has expired. Yeah, and so that would happen within the discussion area here. Any questions about the assignments?
I have a question, Keith.
Sure.
You mentioned that for the media tool presentation that there'll be about like one or two groups going per week, you said?
Yes.
So would that be something that is organized like soon so that we would know when we would be presenting?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a discussion area or a discussion thread set up where you can go in and maybe just put in a little post in the discussion thread saying, here are some of the topics I'm interested in, or tools I'm interested in working with, or types of tools, and maybe you don't know exactly which tool, and see if other people are interested, and hopefully gel that way into groups that can do this. And then in Moodle, I'll have an actual group sign up, and so I'll list the teams or the groups by which week they're working in. And if you've hooked up with a partner or two others, you also need to, besides deciding on a topic or a tool that you're going to work with, you also need to decide on a week that works for you to present. And so you pick your team based on the week that it's set for. And that way, it also, this instance on Moodle, that tool where you select your teams actually puts you into the team. So I don't have to go and add people to teams. And that's only important in Moodle because it helps keep things stable for the gradebook. Only one person in the team has to submit, and if I do feedback, it goes to all the team members, which is very handy. But yes, starting this week, we'll have the discussion topic for fleshing out what tool you'd be interested in using and who else might be interested.
Thanks.
Any other questions about the assignments? Now, it always happens that there are more questions the closer we get to some of these assignments, and that's fine. So there will be a questions for the instructor topic in the discussion area. And I try to get in there and check it every day or every second day. I do get email notifications. The problem is that I get email notifications for a lot of different automated tools, and email notifications tend to look like email notifications, so it's hard to know which one is some experimental tampering with Moodle and which one's actually a question about an assignment. So I would also encourage anytime that you've got a question that's, time urgent, email me. That's the best way. And if I think it's a question that everybody needs to know the answer to, I'll just mention, I'm just going to post this summary of the answer back into the discussion topics area. So, does anybody have any questions about anything else with the course?
Hello, Kate.
Hi.
I have one question regarding to the discussion. We will have a weekly discussion in this course, which means that we will have a discussion every week.
I don't think so. I think there are some weeks where it is much more in the blog posts. And so what will happen, I think particularly in some of the weeks where we're working with media types, is that rather than discussing something in the discussion area, the activity will say, build this, and then it will say, go and look at some of the things that the other students in the course have built, and offer your reflection, constructive criticism, etc., that sort of thing. So I think there will be discussion style interaction with the other students every week. It won't necessarily be in the discussion area because there's a lot of stuff being built in the actual portfolios themselves. And so that's different from 5101 last week, where there was discussion every week in the discussion area.
Okay, thanks. And another question is that I've noticed that it says that we need to write a short post for each blog, right? But is there any number of words required for each post?
No, I've never set a number of words for these sorts of things. In my head, I always have old school numbers. 250 words equals a page for an essay, and certainly 250 words often barely gets you out the gate. But at the same time, the nature of blogging is different. I think that you should do a length of post that seems appropriate to what's happening right, or what you've been asked to do, or what it is you want to talk about. And similarly, in the last course and in many courses that have an online environment like this, there's a sort of genre of academic blogging where you are expected to maintain APA formatting, etc., for all sorts of things and citations. To my mind, in all of the blogging that we're doing for this course, and the same thing with discussion topic threads on the EDDL site, we don't need to be doing academic writing for this. If you cite something, make it clear that you're citing something. I read in Spencer that such and such, and if it's something handy, make a link to it. But other than that, we don't need to be, doing bibliographies and formal citations for things like this in our blogging here and in our discussion threads.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Well, thanks everyone for coming out. And if you have more questions, feel free also to pop into any of the future sessions. So I'm going to schedule at least 2 more in the coming week. People are busy, so looking at the doodle poll, it's been difficult to actually be sure I can, cover everybody's availability in even 3 of these, but I think it's worthwhile to have the opportunity for everyone, if they want to come up and have a quick get to know you and then be able to ask their questions. But again, more questions are going to come, so that's to be expected. Okay, well, thanks everybody for coming out, and I'm looking forward to a great semester. This is my favorite course to teach in this program, and so I hope you like it too. I love the practical aspect of it. I am not a trained media developer. I am not a videographer, but it's the kind of thing where I just enjoy learning this stuff, and learning how any interested educator can pick up these tools and start doing stuff that looks pretty darn good to use for their own teaching and learning. Anyway, thanks a lot, and talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Thank you.